Michigan Citizen Action has been kind enough to help us put together a 6-part series, one a month, focusing on money, talking about the budget. Actually, you might recall last month we spoke with the budget director in Michigan, John Roberts, about how the state budget trickles down and affects you. Today, we're going to broaden the lens a little and look at the federal budget and how that affects you. And, the whole notion behind this is that sometimes we may, as ordinary citizens, feel as though we are somewhat removed from that. And so today we're going to try and get some perspective on that. Joining us in the studio today, our former Congressman, Dr. Joe Schwartz, and Mark Schauer are both with us today to talk about that.
Congressman, too. You have two former congressmen.
That's right, plural.
Different parties. Bipartisanship is alive and well.
There it is. There it is. Good morning,
alive
gentlemen.
and well.
At least at the WBCK studios.
We appreciate that. And putting schedules together for two former congressmen who are still very busy can be difficult, but we managed to do it.
The best shot at that is 8 o'clock in the morning, right?
That's right. It's 3 a.m. This is all being taped. Yeah.
I'm familiar with 3 a.m., believe me. Well, thanks to you both for being here today.
You're welcome.
To talk about this. Is it fair to say that when you were in office and folks would talk to you about the budget, that folks felt somewhat removed from that?
A short answer is yes. People do feel removed from the budget, both at the state and then the national level.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to use this opportunity on Dr. King Day to use a quote, which I think is very apropos. I'm going to modify. Dr. King said, "Everyone can be great because everyone can serve." So I'll modify it a little bit and say everyone can be great because everyone can be involved and should be involved. I mean, I think we get the government we deserve a lot of time. Joe, wouldn't you say that? I mean, if people sort of either don't vote or leave it up to somebody else or don't contact their city commissioner, their mayor. I was a commissioner, Joe was a mayor, commissioner and a mayor, your state legislator, your congressman, whatever, you're sort of leaving it up to other people to speak for you. So,
I agree completely with that. I mean, people stand by and watch the train come into the station, do what it's going to do, and leave, and then all of a sudden find out that what happened really wasn't to their liking. But it's too late, and that manifests itself also in the huge number of people that don't bother to vote.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, the federal budget is a different animal, and we talked a little bit before the show, and I don't know, we want to have people's eyes glaze over at 8:10 in the morning, but it affects us in so many ways, whether it's a condition of our roads, which could use some improvement, our schools. Local governments have money for police and fire services. One of the top issues, at this very moment, hanging in the balance is health care. Joe was an appropriator in the Senate, and as a doctor, I know cares very deeply about the Medicaid program. And by the way, most Medicaid dollars in Michigan don't go to low-income people; they go to folks in nursing home facilities, right, Joe?
Correct.
So, what happens with the Affordable Care Act sure is going to have a bearing. And by the way, our Republican governor, like a lot of Republican governors, supported Medicaid expansion and know how important that is to the state budget, right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 600,000 people in Michigan that now have coverage that didn't before the Affordable Care Act, and Michigan took advantage of that opportunity. All states did not. So that has been a good thing. My advice to my former colleagues in the U.S. House, and I'm sure Mark's would be as well, is if you're hell bent on changing the Affordable Care Act, let's come up with a plan before you start repealing this and repealing that and repealing the other thing. And nationally, they say 22 million people would lose their health care coverage, which makes utterly no sense to me. So there's got to be a plan. There's got to be some deliberation, and I've yet to see it. I hope it's coming, but I've yet to see it.
Well, and this seems to be the number one, if not close, issue that folks are affected when budget decisions are made, that which relates to their health. We'll talk about that and some others, too, when we come back in a moment on WBCK. We're here today talking about money with Dr. Joe Schwartz and Mark Schauer, both former congressmen, as we bring you a 6-part series about how the budget affects you. So healthcare may be number one on that list, if not close, in terms of the ways a federal budget trickles all the way down to us. Any others that are close to that?
Well, Mark mentioned a number of them, and it's all trickle down. Federal trickle to state, state trickle to local jurisdictions. One of the best things that a prospective legislator can do is have experience in local government before he or she moves to the state or moves to the federal government, because you've got to understand how this process works and understand what a huge part of the state budget and the local budgets as well, using the state to pass the money through, comes from the federal government, and it's complex. I would be the first one to tell you that I do not completely understand it. And any member of the legislature or Congress who tells me he or she does, I would say, good luck. I don't really believe you. Mark?
Yeah, no, it's complicated, but I think the general public doesn't need to fully understand how the federal budgeting and appropriation process works. What they do need to have a basic understanding is how decisions made in Washington affect, as Joe said, the state budget, local budgets, their schools, the roads they drive on, and they should regularly engage with their congressmen. I mean, we're largely here talking about the federal budget, but it could go to state legislators as well, your U.S. senators, and say, not to fixate on health care, but say, don't repeal the Affordable Care Act until you have a replacement that is going to make sure that people are made whole.
Or
right?
Whatever the issue is.
But go to their coffee hours, their town hall meetings, meet. Sometimes it's just as effective or more effective to meet with the member of their staff, right, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Meet with a member of the staff.
That's just so important to let people know what your priorities are and what's important, and do a little bit of studying ahead of time so that they take you seriously too.
Yeah, take the federal highways for an example. That's a great example. 90-10. If you're going to do something to an interstate, 90% federal money, 10% state money. People don't know that. They're not certain where the money is coming from. But then you take a look at what the federal government might want to do with infrastructure. You have people like, God, I'm going to have to pay more taxes because of this and what have you. And one of the things I kind of liked about both presidential candidates this year is they were both heavy into infrastructure. And we had better be, because you want to talk about where we really need to spend federal and state dollars. Take a look at surrounding states. Indiana is a good example, whose highways are in far better shape than the highways in Michigan. Or take a look at our neighbors across the water in Europe and what their highway and transportation systems are like. And I use that as an example. I mean, this is a place we have to spend money. It's not going to happen as if by magic.
Well, and we end up paying, you pay now or pay later, right? Either we pay one way by failed systems, whether it's water systems, things below the ground we don't see. It's not just our roads, but our rail, our ports. I just read an article about the SULACs today, and how critically important they are to our economy, and what that needs to be expanded. But we pay. Or if the federal government can't get their act together, and I was on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and neither party could get anything done. We end up paying, we're paying a higher gas tax now here in Michigan, and higher vehicle registration, and that's still not enough to solve the problem, is it?
Yeah. Let's use the SULACs as a point for Michigan here. Yeah. The POLOC needs to be expanded to get the larger ships through, and ships through. As a result, it's not happening, and we're not pushing hard enough. We ought to be down there just beating the doors down, because of the economic blow we'll take if for some reason that lock fails. That lock has to be shut down, and it's been out there for years. And you just want to say, come on, get on it. Let's get it done.
This is interesting, because we talk about the things that motivate the public to contact their elected officials. Potholes on the road might be one.
Right.
The health care changes that affect them would be another.
Yes.
The Sulaks, maybe not so much. You know what I mean? I mean, we don't drive through there on a regular basis. Maybe we don't know. But your point is that you can access your elected officials and talk about these things. And from your positions as having been there, when that happens, how do you hear about it? If they meet with a member of your staff, the discussion takes place, where does it go from there?
The staff people, and are all very competent people, they have to figure out what's important and what isn't. Is this somebody who's a chronic complainer, and they are out there,
sure,
coming in, or somebody that's making legitimate points? And I think the staff has always been good, and I bet Mark would agree with me.
Yep.
Staff's pretty good at separating the wheat from the chaff,
Yes.
and bringing the important points to us.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was in Congress and in Washington, I always made it a point to meet with constituents who travel there. It might be, part of a group that's having a day on the Hill or whatever. But, if they weren't from my district, sometimes they might get the staff. But I always had staff with me, and Joe's exactly right. They help. They brief you on what the critical issues are that are coming before you, and more it's, email, not so much faxes anymore, written letters. But again, attending events, that is so important when, whether it's our congressman or U.S. senator, I mean, they are here from time to time. Go. Having a chance to meet one-on-one, make a connection, and then make sure you talk to the staff so they know who you are. It's amazing how few people take advantage of that.
Get out there and see and be seen. Remember, there are over 700,000 people in each congressional district in Michigan. And the way the district lines are gerrymandered, some of them, the one we live in, quite frankly, is a good example. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and we don't, quite frankly, see enough of our member of Congress down here in Calhoun County. But the lines are drawn so crazily that 3/4 of the district is in Kent County. There's a lot of ways we could start to make things better. And I'm not going to get into gerrymandering right now, but just to mention the fact.
That's my day job, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, just to mention the fact that we are, not only in southeast Michigan, but outstate Michigan, we are terribly gerrymandered that is designed, of course, for partisanship, but it also, an unintended consequence, it makes the member of Congress in some of these gerrymandered districts very, very ineffective in representing some parts of the district.
And less responsive to the district as a whole.
Calhoun County is a good example of that.
So is that something that an average person is complaining about, you think, at this point?
Sometimes. Yeah, I think so. I think people are becoming more aware of that's one of the root causes of the problem, like, excessive money in politics and, the need to sort of straighten that out. But, I want to say one other thing about citizen involvement. There are so many, you hear of the word interest group or lobbyists. An interest group could be the Farm Bureau or a local chamber of commerce or teachers groups or healthcare advocates or people that want to fix the roads. I mean, find the issue that you care about or a few issues and get involved. With social media these days, I mean, my goodness, you can find any group to be involved. And, whether you support the party in power or not the party in power or whatever. I mean, I'll go back to my opening quote. Everyone can be great because everyone can be involved. Find that interest group. Their power in numbers, right?
Well, I couldn't agree more. I just... You got to be in contact with your constituents. You have to listen to them. You have to, as I said before, separate the wheat from the chaff. And you've got to get around the district, especially as a member of Congress with the size. There are 5 states who have fewer people in their population than the congressional district that we live in here in Michigan. You've got to get around. You've got to see people. You've got to pick out the issues that you have to represent the most strenuously, and then go to Washington and do so and understand. And like the man said, you ain't going to win them all.
So you talked about this briefly, that there are people out there who are chronic complainers, so somebody's got something to complain about all the time. But if you are legitimate in trying to make an impression on your elected official about a certain issue, whatever it is, like Affordable Care Act, don't like it, whatever that is, how do you go about it so that you are viewed as legitimate and
taken seriously?
And the staff member tells you about
I think, knowing your facts, having your facts right, you don't have to be an expert on every part of that issue, but if you're going to be making an argument about something, you better be factually correct, because otherwise you're not going to be taken seriously. I mean, as an elected official, you don't want people just coming and presenting a problem. You also want them coming to present a solution. Everyone can be an expert on an issue, so I think that to me is where you start.
I'd sum it up and say be rational. Be rational, be reasonable, come with facts as you see the facts. Don't be a jumper and a screamer, because jumpers and screamers usually don't get very far. Be a rational citizen, and you'll be listened to.
Jumpers and screamers tend to delegitimize themselves. The message is as important maybe as the method by which the message comes across.
Back in the day when you had like paper files on all kinds of issues as well as constituents, we had a saying, and this probably goes back generations, they were called red dots. And you placed a little red sticky dot on that file. This was someone who was, sort of a frequent flyer, and whatever the issue was, it was not. They weren't. Their input wasn't necessarily productive or helpful.
Understood.
To their cause or anybody else's.
Understood. All right.
Don't be a red dot. Don't be a red dot.
That's the bottom line. Got it. Well, if we were attempting here today to try and help clear the path for folks to speak to their legislators about issues with regard to the budget or other things, hopefully we've done that, and we appreciate the time that you've given us to help clear that path, both of you.
It affects people's lives in every way possible.
Well, we appreciate
and again,
that.
I would say get a hold of your rep, state, federal, but be rational, geometrical, reasonable when you contact them, and you'll be listened
and
to.
respectful.
And respectful. You don't always have to be. I don't expect everybody to be respectful, but yeah, it helps.
Would be nice. All right. Former Congressman Dr. Joe Schwartz and Mark Schauer here with us, giving us a little bit of a behind-the-scenes primer on how to be involved, and we appreciate that time. Come back anytime you want.
Thank you.
Thanks
We'll
very kindly.
take this on the road.
Yep, maybe you should. That's right. Thanks to you both.